That's it, Dr. McNeely. Tell her we're getting ready to get started. So she can.
Get ready to start. Get ready to start.
Good afternoon to each of you who are here and to our citizens that are listening. Welcome to our school board workshop. This is about our budget for July 24th, so welcome. Before we get into, I see Ms. Jamcheck is already in place, but I do want to say it's been a great day in Alachua County Public Schools. We've had our school grades released, and so I'm going to encourage everybody to look at our news release. In our schools, we have 5 out of 7 of our turnaround schools. People, we're out. They're out, and I'm just so excited today. I've received many phone calls, but we have no failing schools in Alachua County. There is still work to be done, but I want to say to the staff of Alachua County, thank you for all of your hard work. I did a little video myself as chair on Facebook, so check it out, but I will be going again to the city commission meeting, to the county commission meeting, and to all of our surrounding municipalities to share the work that is being done in Alachua County Public Schools. So just wanted to share that before we get into our budget meeting. Now, at this time, if we would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I will need a motion to adopt the agenda. Been moved?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to the approval to advertise the 24-25 proposed tentative budget and millage rates. Ms. Jamcheck, it's on you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, school board members, and Superintendent Andrew. The school board approves the adoption of the district budget and millage rates annually. At this time, we are at the beginning of the budget process. Today, we'll be recommending the school board approve the request to advertise the tentative budget and millage rates as presented for the public hearing that will take place on August 1st. Before the request is made to recommend the approval to advertise, we'll review this year's rolled back rate, the budget summary, and proceed with the superintendent's recommendation to approve advertisement of the required tax and budget notices. First, let's briefly review the trim timeline. On July 1st, the property appraiser certified the tax roll, and on Friday, July 19th, we received Calc 2 information and the millage certification from DOE, which we used in preparation of the budget and millage rates for this school year. Today, we will be asking the board to approve the advertisement of the tentative budget and millage rates for the August 1st public hearing. Then we will proceed with the public hearing on August 1st and another public hearing on September 11th to adopt the final budget and millage rates. At this time, I would like to introduce Deborah Parrish. She's the Director of Budget, and she will be explaining some of the budget information.
Good afternoon. We start with our rollback millage rate, which was certified by the property appraiser on July 1st, and then it went to the Department of Education, where the Commissioner of Education certifies it to us by July 19th. The rollback millage rate is the rate that would raise the same amount of revenue as last year if it was applied to the current tax roll, minus any adjustments such as new construction or additions. Our 23-24 actual rate was 6.4320. Our rolled back rate for 24-25 would be 6.0087, but we are asking the board to approve a proposed rate of 6.2610. The final 2023 taxable gross for the community for Alachua County was $24,666,163,122 in property value. The 2024 taxable value has gone up to $27 billion, sorry, too many commas, $35,443,033. That's a 9.61% increase in property values for the county. For us, that means our millage rate this year, millage revenue of $162,498,154 versus last year's of $153,942,833. When you look at the actual millage rates for required local effort, the change is from a 3.184 to proposed 3.013, the 2.66 difference in the negative or decrease. For the average property owner, that means if you had a house valued at $200,000 last year, this year it's going to be assessed by the county tax collector at $206,000. After you get your homestead exemption, it's going to take it down to $181,000. With the millage rate of 6.4320 that from last year, that would have cost you $1,125. This year, with the 6.2610, it goes up to $1,133.24. So the average homeowner will be paying $7.64 more. This is the first ad that we're asking for approval to advertise. It is required by the Department of Revenue for us to be able to get the $150,413,826 in state education grants that we receive each year. If we do not approve this within the timeline, we will not be eligible for this funding. Last year's proposed tax levy would have raised $160,357,114. After the Value Adjustment Board made their changes on June 27th, that took last year's property tax to $158,652,761. This year's proposed tax levy is $169,268,909. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Drumcheck for the tentative budget summary.
The tentative budget for fiscal year 24-25 is a grand total of $608,290,212. This amount is made up of the budget for the general fund being $335,940,831. These funds are used for our operating expenditures. Our special revenue funds, which are restricted for specific expenditures, will have a budget of $54,449,072. The debt service fund, which is restricted for our debt payments, has a budget of $8,666,702. Our capital project funds, which are restricted for maintenance, renovation, construction, and debt, have a budget of $151,947,919. The internal service fund for the district, which is restricted to our insurance payments, has a budget of $57,285,687. The second notice that will be in the paper to be advertised for the public hearing on August 1st is a notice of tax for school capital outlay. This is posted to continue to impose a 1.5 mil property tax for the capital outlay projects listed, and there's a more detailed listing that will be presented in the paper that outlines exactly what those projects are. The tax is in addition to the school board's proposed tax of 4.761 mils for operating expenses and is proposed solely at the discretion of the school board. The second advertisement that will be in the paper for the public hearing on August 1st is the budget summary. This is the proposed operating budget expenditures of the school which is 3.79 more than last year's total operating expenditures. This summary details the $608,290,212 overall budget, more specifically by program and also the revenues and expenditures. At the public hearing on August 1st, a presentation will be provided to go into greater detail on the revenues and the expenditures by program. And Finally, have this superintendent's recommendation for the school board to approve the proposed tentative millage and budget for advertising. Does anybody have any questions?
Let's get a motion first, and then we'll go into questions. And before we go to that, just want Dr. McNeely, for the record, is on the phone. Ms. Certain is absent. I need a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All right, now we will have a citizen input first. I do have two here, Dr. Tessman and then Ms. Ward. You have any phone calls, Mr. Nathan? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair McGraw, board members, Superintendent Andrew, and district staff. I'm Dr. Crystal Tessman, the Service Unit Director, Chief Negotiator for Education Support Professionals, and Instructional Vice President for Alachua County Education Association. This budget does not have enough budgeted for employee raises. It can, it does not. I'm also very disgusted and disappointed by the bargaining update sent out to employees that talks about the potential raise that you're budgeting for, because it was wildly misleading and clearly propaganda. Your employees are not fooled, but it has angered them. At some point, we have to show the employees that they matter. And continuing to say that we can't find the money when it clearly can is not acceptable. There's no reason why the union would ask the district to do something that would hurt our members. So please find a way.
Ms. Ward?
Chair McGraw, board members, I heard where Dr. McNeely is Ms. Certain also on a virtual meeting with us now?
No.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. We are very much looking forward to the August 1st meeting so that we can have our membership, citizens that are directly impacted by the decisions made by this board, because students should be the priority. If we continue to make moves that reduce teacher retention by not making a budget priority of salary, we're going to have a problem. And that's a problem for students. So we definitely all have the same goal and mission to help every student succeed in this district. And so I'm looking forward to all the public comment that we will have on August 1st when people have seen what is being advertised, because this is a really large budget. It's historically the largest budget that we've had, if you don't count ESSER funds, which we never should have counted them for reoccurring salaries anyway. But I don't know if you saw my comment, my response to the communication that came out from the district. And I know Dr. Tessman already spoke to that, but I hope that you're paying attention, because the math should not be what we are disputing at the bargaining table, but that is what we are disputing. There is a lie to say that everyone's getting a 1% salary step increase. That is a lie. It is a lie. I mean, I don't even know what else to say, because there are a lot of people getting a 0, but just like the grading structure that you did not change, zeros ruin averages. So they took out all the zeros and didn't include that in the average step increase. They only took the 53% to 1 point whatever and said, oh, it's a 1% raise. Well, not for everybody. And there are people that are getting less than 1.6 because the 1.6 may be on 5 steps ago, on step 25 for the grandfathered salary schedule. If you're at the top, they don't give the percentage increase on your actual salary. And then, if it's not retroactive, the district will save even more money on the backs of employees. I don't think you want that look.
Thank you. Ms. Damchick, I do have a question. The current budget is based on the 31,000 students. What's our current, I'm looking at, can you tell me what student enrollment is to date?
That number is actually very fluid, and I believe I have an email, if I can just step away for a second.
Okay, I'm just trying to, because I'd rather project on less. I know we had some projections back in January, but it built on about almost 32,000. You know, I just want to make sure we're not putting ourselves in a position. Because actual enrollment, well, I
Madam
guess
Chair.
current, yes, Mr. Andrew.
If I may. So
Okay.
any enrollment numbers that we're showing right now in Skyward are not accurate, just based on the graduates that we had depart and the kindergarten enrollments. So we're, I think last time I checked last week, the kindergarten enrollments are around 940 right now. And of course, they're still rolling in. First grade, just at a glance, when I was comparing them side by side, was 1770 or something like that. So typically, we'll see 600-700 kindergarten enrollments coming in.
Okay.
And so as we pull those numbers, they're not necessarily true to form for kindergarten. You know, we can watch the numbers of 1st through 12th grade, the ones that have risen, and have a little bit, or, you know, a little better picture there. But that always doesn't account for new arrivals to the district, because they may not have enrolled yet, and people who may withdraw their students at the last minute, because people are still in that process. There might be folks that are sending their students to another school that have not withdrawn them yet.
Okay.
So that really is fluid at this point in time.
Okay, because I know we had some increases, about, I was looking at 20 million in expenditures, and I know we won't have ESSER anymore, so just trying to make sure we'll be okay.
At the moment, this is the tentative budget
Okay,
that is being presented, and it is
Okay.
an estimate of the revenues and the
Okay.
expenditures.
mm-hmm,
When we come back on September 11th
Okay.
and do the final budget,
okay,
that will give us an opportunity to close out fiscal year 23-24.
okay,
We will be able to provide a more, we will
Okay.
be able to provide the final budget.
okay,
Right now, is it safe to say, it is a little bit inflated because
mm-hmm.
we have to first advertise in the proposed budget be higher. So when we come back and it's based off of the millage rates and it's based off of the revenue, you don't have an opportunity to increase the budget later.
Okay.
So
all right. So I want to make sure, okay. Dr. Rockwell, I see your,
Thank you, Madam
Right.
Chair.
mm-hmm,
First of all, I want to thank Mr. Remchuk, Ms. Parrish, and their team, because I know that you got the Calc 2 late on Friday, was the 19th, very late, and probably worked through your weekend to get this prepared for us so that we got it yesterday and had a little bit of time to review, which I know we all wish that the state gave us a longer timeline so that we would have, you would have more time and we would have more time, but I know what an incredible time crunch that is and what a Herculean effort it has been to get this put together for us. So first, I want to thank you for that. My concern, and this is not really a question for you or even a comment directed at you, because as the finance team, your job is to take what this board and superintendent have said we are doing as a district and calculate the costs of that and calculate the revenues and make the budget. You don't get to decide what programs we're spending money on.
So, but when I look at this tentative budget, I see a budget deficit between our estimated revenues and our estimated expenditures of nearly $11 million. And I guess the one question before I continue with my comment is, I know does this include the step increase in it? Yes. Does it include any additional funds for a salary package, even though we haven't come to an agreement on one? No. So that $11 million is, that nearly $11 million is before even providing any employee raises. So I know this is tentative, and some of these categories of expenditures may be adjusted down, but we have a very large category of expenditure in salary increases that has not even been included, and we already have a nearly $11 million budget shortfall. You know, I don't have our current fund balance, but based on the last fund balance that we saw with our last budget amendment in May, if we were to transfer that $11 million out of the fund balance, we would already be below the 5% required by board policy. That is extremely concerning to me. As a board member, I feel like I'm being placed between a rock and a hard place today, because I basically have to approve this budget for advertisement right now, because if we don't do that, we lose out on the matching state funds through the FEFP. But I do not support us having a budget that requires us to transfer funds in excess of what our board policy requires from our fund balance.
The fund balance is there, correct? And you have, it was in the budget.
I'm not done.
I'm just answering your question, that's all.
But for as long as I've been on the board, I have expressed concerns about various initiatives that have been costly that have come before this board, and have asked, you know, how we were going to pay for certain things. And I've been concerned that with the rising costs of everything, and with the end of ESSER and the need to transfer some of our most meaningful ESSER-funded positions to general fund, that we would need to make cuts in other areas in order to pay for all of those things. And again, it is not Ms. Jaremchuk or Ms. Parrish's job to make those cuts, but looking at this budget, it's clear to me that those cuts were not made. We do not have a balanced budget. We have a budget shortfall. And that shortfall is only going to get larger when we add a salary package to it, and could potentially get smaller when we get our actual FTE counts, because all of these revenues are based on estimates that from formulas that the state provides to us that don't necessarily take into account things that we know are happening locally, such as new private schools opening or existing private schools renovating to have more seats. So, as I said, I basically have to vote in favor of advertising this budget so that we can get our state funding, but it needs dramatic changes, because we cannot move forward with a deficit that, when we add salaries, will be well over $11 million.
Do you want to respond?
As I mentioned, at the moment, I mean, this is based on estimated expenditures and estimated revenues. When we close the year and we get closer to the school year and we understand what the FTE is, some of this information will change. We did adopt the conservative conservative model and the projected FTE from the DOE, because there are concerns, like you mentioned, with, charter schools opening in the community, and we did not want to potentially grossly overstate the revenue. But like, as we progress and get closer to the final budget, I'm sure some of this information will adjust.
Okay. Any phone calls? Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Did I hear Dr. McNeely? She said aye. All right. And this is it. Motion, this meeting is adjourned at 3:26. Thank you.